In our modern age, it seems that the quest for pleasure has become the ultimate measure of success. It is a never-ending pursuit of fleeting satisfaction that, if we're not careful, can slowly unravel the very fabric of our lives. Imagine, if you will, a life dedicated solely to the pursuit of sensual delights. Every moment is consumed by the desire for the next high, the next thrill, the next indulgence. This path is so often glorified and touted as the epitome of freedom and happiness. Yet it hides a dangerous truth. The relentless chase after pleasure can blind us to the reality of our existence and leave us adrift in a sea of superficiality and distraction. Consider for a moment the nature of pleasure itself. It is an elusive, ephemeral spark, a brief, dazzling burst of light in an otherwise dark and complex world. When we fixate on these sparks, we risk mistaking them for the sun. And yet the sun is far more than a series of fleeting flashes. It is a constant and sustaining force that nourishes life. In contrast, pleasure is transient. It is a momentary glimpse of bliss that, once past, leaves behind a void, a craving that is never truly quenched. As Jesus once said, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." In this saying, we are reminded that if our hearts are set on the transient delights of worldly pleasures, we may lose sight of the eternal truths that sustain our spirit. We are often seduced by the modern myth that pleasure is synonymous with fulfillment. This notion has been carefully cultivated by a culture that equates the accumulation of sensory experiences with the essence of a life well lived. These experiences may be material, hedonistic, or even virtual. Yet when we delve deeper, we see that this obsession with pleasure is nothing more than an illusion, a mirage that leads us further away from the richness of true experience. Much like chasing after the shimmering horizon, the pursuit of pleasure constantly recedes. It leaves us feeling more disoriented and empty than ever before. Imagine a painter who is so consumed by the desire to capture the vibrancy of a sunset that he overlooks the subtle beauty of the landscape around him. He paints in broad and reckless strokes, attempting to seize the fleeting moment of brilliance without ever truly engaging with the scene itself. Similarly, when we allow the lure of pleasure to dictate our every action, we risk becoming detached observers of our own lives. We may collect a wealth of experiences, yet each one is isolated, disconnected, and ultimately unsatisfying. In our pursuit, we forget to savor the depth of the present moment and the profound simplicity of being. There is a profound irony here. In our efforts to escape the mundanity of existence through the acquisition of pleasure, we inadvertently surrender the very essence of our being. We become prisoners of our own desires, enslaved by the incessant need for more stimulation, more novelty, more excitement. And as the cycle perpetuates, we find ourselves locked in a perpetual state of craving, a hunger that can never truly be satiated. In this relentless pursuit, we are like a person drinking salt water in the hope of quenching thirst, only to find that with every gulp, the thirst grows even more insatiable. This predicament is not merely a modern malaise. It is as old as time itself. Ancient sages and spiritual teachers have long warned against the perils of overindulgence and the dangers of seeking satisfaction in external sources. Jesus, with his profound insight into the human condition, often challenged the prevailing attitudes of his day. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. He once declared a stark reminder that an obsession with wealth, and by extension worldly pleasure, can be a barrier to true spiritual enlightenment. His words echo through the corridors of time, urging us to seek a deeper, more enduring form of fulfillment that transcends the superficial allure of immediate gratification. But how does the pursuit of pleasure truly ruin our lives? The answer lies not only in the gradual erosion of our inner peace, but also in the distortion of our values and priorities. When our entire focus is directed toward capturing the next pleasurable experience, we inadvertently neglect the things that truly matter: genuine relationships, personal growth, and the cultivation of wisdom. In this state, even our successes are tainted, for they are measured not by their inherent worth, but by their capacity to provide a transient burst of euphoria. We become like children chasing after bubbles, marveling at their iridescent beauty even as they burst and vanish before our eyes. One might ask, isn't life meant to be enjoyed? Isn't the pursuit of pleasure a natural and necessary part of our human experience? Indeed, there is nothing inherently wrong with enjoying life's delights. However, the problem arises when pleasure becomes an end in itself, rather than a byproduct of a life lived in balance. Just as a tree cannot flourish if all its energy is devoted solely to bearing fruit without nurturing its roots, so too must we cultivate a harmonious balance between the pursuit of pleasure and the nurturing of our inner being. Otherwise, we risk creating a life that, while superficially abundant, is fundamentally barren. Yet, if we step back and observe the truth of our condition, we realize that the endless pursuit of pleasure is like trying to capture a cloud with our bare hands. The more we chase it, the more it slips away, leaving us with nothing but the emptiness of a life devoid of purpose. As Jesus taught, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." In these words, we find a call to humility, a reminder that true contentment arises not from the relentless quest for sensory gratification, but from the surrender of our egos and the acceptance of life's inherent impermanence. Moreover, the fixation on pleasure can lead us to neglect the responsibilities and commitments that form the foundation of a meaningful life. In our single-minded pursuit, we may forsake the bonds of community, the warmth of genuine connection, and the simple joy of shared experiences. Relationships become transactional, interactions shallow, and the very essence of human connection is reduced to a series of brief, ephemeral encounters. In this state, the soul is starved of the nourishment it craves, the kind that can only be found in authentic, unmediated relationships with others and with the divine. Let us not forget that the human spirit is meant to soar above the mundane, to find meaning in the interplay of joy and sorrow, of pleasure and pain. For it is through the full spectrum of human experience that we come to understand the profound mystery of our existence. When we allow ourselves to be defined solely by the pursuit of pleasure, we are, in effect, confining ourselves to a narrow corridor of life, one that excludes the richer, more complex realities that lie beyond the immediate and the obvious. We miss out on the opportunity to engage with life in its entirety, to embrace its paradoxes, its challenges, and its unexpected turns. In many ways, the pursuit of pleasure is like a seductive mirage in a vast desert. At first glance, it promises relief and satisfaction, a refreshing oasis in a barren landscape. But as one draws near, the illusion shatters, revealing not water, but the parched ground of unfulfilled longing. This metaphor serves as a cautionary tale, warning us of the perils that lie in the uncritical acceptance of pleasure as the ultimate goal. Instead, we are called to seek a deeper truth, a truth that acknowledges the transient nature of pleasure while also embracing the enduring reality of our inner selves. Jesus, in his teachings, often emphasized the importance of inner transformation over external accumulation. His message was one of introspection and self-examination, a call to look beyond the surface and to seek a connection with the eternal. Man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God, he proclaimed, reminding us that true nourishment comes from the Spirit rather than the fleeting indulgence of the senses. In these words we find a profound invitation to reorient our lives, to prioritize the cultivation of the soul over the relentless chase for ephemeral delights. It is not to say that pleasure has no place in a balanced life. After all, the enjoyment of life's simple pleasures, like the taste of a well-prepared meal, the sound of laughter among friends, or the warmth of a summer breeze, can bring genuine joy and enrich our experience of the world. However, when the pursuit of pleasure becomes an obsession, it transforms from a benign aspect of life into a self-destructive force. It begins to dictate our decisions, to color our perceptions, and to ultimately rob us of the ability to experience life in its fullest, most authentic sense. To navigate this delicate balance, we must cultivate an awareness of our own tendencies and the subtle ways in which our desires can cloud our judgment. This requires a conscious effort to step back from the immediate rush of sensory gratification and to engage in a deeper, more reflective examination of our lives. It means questioning the narratives that have been imposed upon us by society, narratives that equate success with excess and happiness with hedonism, and choosing instead a path that is grounded in humility, mindfulness, and compassion. In the end, the pursuit of pleasure, when taken to an extreme, can lead us away from the very things that give life meaning. It can obscure the beauty of the present moment, distort our relationships, and ultimately leave us feeling isolated and unfulfilled. But it need not be this way. By heeding the timeless wisdom of those who have come before us, of Jesus and other sages, we can learn to discern the difference between fleeting gratification and enduring fulfillment. We can rediscover the joy of simply being, of living in harmony with the rhythms of nature and the eternal pulse of the universe. So let us pause for a moment of genuine reflection, setting aside the clamor of our modern existence to listen to the quiet, persistent voice within. In this silence, we might hear the gentle reminder that life is not meant to be measured by the sum of our indulgences, but by the depth of our awareness and the authenticity of our connections. For it is in the embrace of this deeper, more nuanced reality that we find not only the true source of pleasure, but also the keys to a life of lasting peace and fulfillment. In conclusion, while the allure of pleasure is undeniable, its unchecked pursuit can indeed ruin our lives by disconnecting us from what truly matters. As we walk the tightrope between desire and fulfillment, let us remember that every moment is an opportunity to choose wisely, an opportunity to turn away from the seductive mirage of transient joy and to step into the radiant light of enduring truth. For as Jesus so wisely reminded us, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. May we, therefore, be treasurers of what is eternal, nurturing our inner lives and cherishing the timeless wisdom that guides us to live not in the fleeting shadows of pleasure, but in the brilliant, unchanging light of true reality.